All right, Barney Rock and Enda McGinley are here. Lads, how are things?
Good on, good.
Good, looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait. We'll get into that in just a moment, but Enda, can't both mention the documentary that was on last night. We obviously had three of your former teammates in studio with us on the Saturday panel at the weekend. Brilliant story, obviously, as a lot of people will know, but a brilliant documentary, wasn't it?
It was a brilliant documentary. Michael Malley, who was supposed to be the main man behind it, he'd done a brilliant job. We were in communication with him from early days, and I suppose we didn't really quite know what angle he was taking with it. I think he had a fairly firm mind, because for us, I suppose, that Tyrone era from 97, 98 right up to 2008 and 2010, there's a story all the way right through it. So they focused on that 97, 98 to 2003 period, and even though I was there through that period, it's still remarkable looking back on it, how much happened and where the team did come from and what we did go on to achieve. And I suppose in the midst of it, you're only 17, 18, 21, 22 when we won the All-Ireland. You're still you've got the naivety of youth, and maybe it's only now, looking back in the fullness of time, that you're realising just what did go on, and you take huge pride. Like it was with great pride that we were watching that documentary, certainly.
Yeah, like just looking at it in the context of this week, it did strike me that Tyrone have never failed to show up for an All-Ireland final, particularly with your team. You've always not only shown up, you've always been hungry beyond belief.
Mm-hmm. And probably nearly always we've produced our very best performances in the final, and there's one consistent reason for that, and that's Mickey Hart. Like, he's, in my time, I wasn't there for that 97 All-Ireland final that we lost, but the boys still played well that day in 97. But since then, Mickey's played in 6 All-Ireland finals and won all 6. That's a phenomenal record, and that's not by chance then, that sort of record. And in plenty of them matches we went in as underdogs. Now it's only now, again, looking back, that I realise we were underdogs, because as a team or within our bubble at that stage, we never viewed ourselves as underdogs for any of them finals. But they've never been just the underdogs that they are this time around.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get into the process of being an underdog perhaps this weekend, because I don't think there's much of an argument that they are underdogs for this weekend. But Barney, do you get more nervous now watching Dean before an All-Ireland final, or being around Dean before an All-Ireland final, than you would have got as a player yourself?
No, that's been honest, in the sense that Dean is fairly cool and calm on that end of it. And from my side of it, I look forward to watching matches and going to the matches. And even I'd probably get a little bit more nervous when I was playing myself in many ways. Yeah, because you have to go out and you have to perform. But going to watch somebody, I think, it's a little different.
Well, that's the thing, knowing that you have to go out and perform. Like, you'd be able to speak with some authority in this. It's one thing going into a big match and thinking, who knows what sort of part I'll play in this, maybe I'll be anonymous for the day, or who knows. But as a free taker, you're going to have a big opportunity to make a seismic shift on what happens in an All-Ireland final.
Yeah, well, listen, it depends on whether you get frees.
Sure.
It's the other thing, so... and
there was less than given back in your day, I suppose.
Yeah, listen, there was a lot harder then. And even nowadays, like, if you get 3 or 4 frees in an All-Ireland final, probably with today's, I think at one stage, going back to 95, yeah. I think Peter Canavan might have got about 8 to 10 frees, and probably could have got one at the end as well to level it. So but I don't think there's as many frees given now in the game, because it's, people don't hold on to the ball as much as they did back then.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, you enjoy the process of going and watching the games now. I'm sure there's kind of a deep sense of enjoyment from the players themselves at the moment. They may not realise it at the moment, but like, obviously the era that they're living in is going to go down as one of the greatest Gaelic games teams, not just football teams, that we've ever witnessed or ever going to witness. Like, I'm sure there's a satisfaction in that they've been here, they've done that already, that they can enjoy weeks like this, that they can enjoy the process and the pressure even of an All-Ireland final week.
Yeah, I'm sure they're looking forward to this week. The advantage Dublin have is that this is probably their 5th or 6th time to preparing for an All-Ireland final, even after the replay. So from that point of view, the preparation should be the same, whereas it'll be different for Tyrone coming up, because this is their first one in this particular stage, and they're coming, as we said earlier, underdogs. They have a proud record of winning All-Ireland finals, and as we said, Mickey Hart has won 6 out of the 7, so he's got a proud record. And when you think of it, we're probably 2 of the greatest modern day managers, Mickey Hart and Jim Gavin. they're plotting their wits against each other for Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. How much does that All-Ireland final experience help Mickey Harte, despite the fact that it's been 10 years?
I think it's massive, but then he didn't have a huge amount of experience back when he started, and yet he got it pretty right pretty quickly. But his experience, he'll I suppose believe in himself, but with Mickey that's never really a doubt. But more so than that, the players will believe in him, and the players will have seen the Tyrone teams in the past go to big matches and really perform. And there's plenty of teams out there that whenever the stage is at its biggest, there is cracks that show, and there is a lack of deep belief that they'll either produce their very best on the day. Lots of teams talk about the difficulty of producing the best performance on a big day, and yet in Tyrone there's nearly the opposite mentality. We sort of see the big day as the very day that we will produce our biggest performances. So that attribute that Mickey has of being able to do that needs to be at its very best in terms of this All-Ireland final. But I've no doubt that he will do that, and I think sort of obviously coming into this final I was sort of thinking what was that about them finals? Like, it was there for them 6 finals that we've won, and what was it about them finals that had us so sure? What was Mickey doing that had us so sure that we were going to win? But there was nothing specific, and maybe that's key. As an experienced player, you sort of know when a manager is trying to pull something or pull a psychological manoeuvre, and so there's immediately sort of you'll call that for what it is, a sort of a trick. But with Mickey, the more I've thought about it, I think it's that all during the year he's planting wee seeds, and all during the year he's been talking about certain things, and when you see them all suddenly come to fruition, come the All-Ireland final day, or come reaching the All-Ireland final, you suddenly realise that everything he's been saying, that everything he's been preaching, it's all there, and so you just buy in completely to his message and to his approach, and you get huge confidence from that. So it's not something specific he does for the final. He always has a few wee things there, but they're subtle things. They're not grandiose gestures. They're wee subtle, just perfectly timed things, but they are built upon this consistent message of belief in the team and belief about what the team can achieve that has been there right from day dot. And I think it's that comes to fruition on the big day.
So it almost goes without saying sometimes in lead up to the final what the team has to do, or it goes without sort of motivation what level you need to be at before an All-Ireland final. Because I was wondering, without suggesting that Tyrone might be satisfied with their lot so far this year, it is a big deal in fairness to this team to get back to an All-Ireland final, given, say, if you look at 2015, losing to Kerry in that semi-final, particularly last year. The idea that Tyrone always showed up when it matters, as we've just been spoken about, that idea was being chiselled away at over the last couple of years, because your Tyrone team might have taken Kerry in 2015, your Tyrone team might have given Dublin a better run for their money last year. This year you might have suggested, well, 2015 and 2017 was suggested they might choke against Monaghan. They didn't. Does that give you any belief then going into the Dublin game? It
does, and I suppose the important thing that we don't rewrite history. My Tyrone team lost plenty of matches that we should have won as well.
There was a few,
but not the finals. The finals we always turned up in. Earlier games we could be caught. We got caught by Cork, we got caught by Mayo, we got caught by Laois one year, we got caught by Meath. Like teams that we shouldn't have been losing to. Cork had a great team at that stage, but you know, so we were caught too, and sometimes we were built up to be something that we weren't either. But the current team, yes, they failed in them other semi-finals, but they were fine teams they were playing against too, and that they were a younger, less experienced Tyrone team. I think the impact of the under-21 All-Ireland win in 2015 is massive. It changed our psyche as that original group. We won our first All-Ireland 3 years after we won that under-21 All-Ireland as a group. Now 2015, 3 years later, them boys are in the All-Ireland final. So that will have given them huge belief. And again, the All-Ireland final with the trophy sitting in the Hogan stand, front and centre in the stand, both teams going for it. Finals are different. They take a different mentality from the team. It's not about, I don't think, being overly defensive. It's not about being careful. You have to go up, out and man up. And I think the finals are set up to be like that. As a player, and Barney will know this, as a player, by the time you've reached an All-Ireland final and you're going out to take on an opponent in an All-Ireland final, if you don't believe in yourself then, or you don't feel you're ready to man up and take on whoever it is that you're on that day, well, why are you ever playing the game? Whenever you reach the All-Ireland final of Gaelic football in our sport, in our country, you're ready to man up. And I think the Tyrone team under Mickey Harte has always managed to capture that belief in that moment for the final. Yeah, definitely. Barney, as a Dublin supporter this Sunday, what are you most afraid of from this Tyrone team? What is the thing that they might pull out of their sleeve that might worry you the most?
Well, I think that if they get the forwards right, I think in the couple of games gone in the past, they probably haven't had the best forwards on at the start, and certainly in the match against Donegal they seem to finish with the best forwards, and I think that's what Dublin have been doing, finishing with their best set at the end of the game. So I think it just depends on I think the opening 10 minutes is going to be massive in this game.
Because it was last year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and that's where Dublin turned the screw last year. I could always remember a kick out from Cluxon, the first kick out, and everybody had pushed up, and everybody thought that Tyrone were going to win the kick and go 2 points up, but Cluxon sent a ball 70 yards into Niall Scully's hands running towards the Hill 16. It was probably one of the best kicks you've seen, and it changed the whole game at that particular stage. So it's the opening 10 minutes is going to be really, really electric, and that will stem on what's going to happen in the game.
Do you think if you take away the tactics and you take away the coaching for a moment, if you look at say 23 v 23, look at the two squads that are going to be printed on the programme on Sunday, do you think that there was 11 points of a difference between them last year? Do you think on talent alone there's 11 points of a difference between them?
No, definitely don't. I think last year, the goals sort of stunned Tyrone at that particular stage, and Dublin were only 1-8 to 4 points up at half time, and I think Tyrone got the first couple of scores in the second half and brought it back. But I think whatever happened, Dublin held on to the ball, they got a couple of scores, and they just didn't give the ball back to Tyrone. Probably Mickey Hart will no doubt have looked at that video, and he will see things that he can correct, and I'm sure Dublin have done the same thing, and Dublin will be looking for an explosive start again, but sometimes that doesn't happen.
In specifics then, Enda, would it be fair to say that Padraig Hampsey is going to play a very, very important role this Sunday?
Yeah, he's really become a key man. He was for a lot of this year. He was playing as a midfielder as such, but really from taking Michael Murphy in that Donegal game, he's been more of the man marker in chief for Tyrone in the way that Conor Gormley was of old, and he's produced brilliantly in that. The problem is for Dublin, you need a couple of Padraig Hampseys because there's several men that really need very, very close tabs kept on. But I think the likes of Conor Meyler, if he's fit from his knock, will be able to step up. But for me, and again this goes back to the All-Ireland final and the nature of it and the mentality that the players have to carry into that. Whatever Tyrone player gets asked to take whatever Dublin player, you're playing an All-Ireland final. If that Dublin player is a multiple All-Star, which many of them are, you have to relish that chance. Even if you've never been thought of in that bracket, that is your chance in an All-Ireland final, in the biggest game of your life, to really step up to the plate. And what better way than to mark a multi-All-Star winning Dublin player? So it's
in your hands then.
Absolutely. The Tyrone boys have to relish that. So it's not just about Padraig Hampsey. I would expect any Tyrone player, given a task of marking any of the vaunted Dublin players, to look forward to that and to take it on in a positive way, and to really get stuck in, for the old-fashioned term, to Dublin. And whilst you respect them and you acknowledge what that Dublin team has achieved, you can't be in awe of it. If you're in awe of it on an Ireland stage, just stay at home, But I really don't believe a Tyrone team under Mickey Hart will have any awe of Dublin.
Yeah, like the reason I mentioned Hampsey obviously is because I think we all know he's probably going to mark Ciarán Kilkenny on Sunday, and as we've established there, man on man, there isn't acres of space between the two teams. It is just this Dublin machine is so well oiled at the moment. They've been at it for a few years, and the central cog is obviously Ciarán Kilkenny. So outside of that particular matchup, if they get that one bang on the money, which they'll need to, how can Tyrone possibly win this game? Yeah,
well, you've James McCarthy, you've Brian Fenton, you've Paul Mannion, you've any number of other players to try to man up. But I think that's why it's not. There will be particular matchups on that that will need to be taken care of. But I think in general, just as a general team, Tyrone need to find that balance between keeping relative solidity at the back and putting pressure on Dublin and forcing Dublin to play the game not at a slow pace. Like Dublin essentially dictate games, all of their games to date. They dictate the pace of it. They dictate how slow they go. They dictate when they attack or when they don't. I think Dublin, as Mayo did, Mayo upset that to an extent. Dublin still came out on top, but they were certainly put and examined pretty thoroughly and put their pin of their collar, and you've seen the best out of them actually. Dublin are so controlled now. Tyrone have to bring in energy and an intensity level.
So you wouldn't do what Jim McGinley suggested last week and put everybody behind the ball?
I seen that, and it depressed me reading it. I just thought, you can't have an All-Ireland final like that. And no, Mickey Hart, and whilst he does whatever he'll choose to do, he'll do it with full belief. I cannot imagine that Mickey would set out a team in an All-Ireland final to just sit within their 45 and not take on Dublin. I think for me that would guarantee you a death. It would be a slow death. The scoreboard might stay tight for longer, but you're guaranteeing yourself a death. You will not win that game, and I don't see why any team would take that on. So I don't see Mickey buying into that. I think he'll be closer to the Mayo philosophy, which we started to see at times again. Monaghan, where Tyrone pushed out, but without a doubt, this won't be a one-system game. Neither team will play this game all to one system. Tyrone won't push up all the time and Cluxton's kick out. They won't give him the kick outs all the time. They won't go hard press the whole game. They won't go ultra defensive the whole game. You'll see both teams at certain times in defence. You'll see both teams going gung-ho attack at times. For me, the greatest thing about this Dublin team, the difficult thing to upset, is the fact that they make so few mistakes. In so many critical moments of the game, and just continuously almost throughout the game, they take the right option at the right time and execute their skills well. And people talk about their conditioning and all of that. They are just brilliant footballers making the right decisions at the right times in big games. Tyrone have to match that. Yeah, Barney, I presume you're not going to disagree with any of that. Last question to you, actually. If they win this weekend, Dublin, if they win, let's not take anything for granted here. Are they then the best team you've ever seen?
Well, certainly. You would have to say modern day, yes. I think, as I said to Enda during the week, his team back in 2005, 6, or 2005,
3 and
8. Yeah, at that stage, they could have stopped the Kerry team at that stage. Like in 2005 and 2008, the two teams they beat were Kerry, and Kerry had won 3 of them All-Irelands in between, so it's that could have been, that was a fantastic Kerry team. What they did at that stage, they upset the apple cart, and nobody knows what's going to happen the weekend. It could be a bounce of a ball. I think it'll be a tighter game than people think. I think it will come down to one kick of a ball, the opportunity of maybe a goal in the last minute to either win it or lose it for Dublin, I'm expecting a very, very tight game, and it's all about playing on the day. And I think Dublin, they must play to their best of their ability to win the game. Yeah, well, let's hope it is tight. Let's hope your expectancy comes true, because the last couple of All-Irelands have been tight and they've been absolutely brilliant as well. Barney Rock and McGinley, thanks a million for joining me in studio.
Yeah, so the two lads were part of the Guinness GAA campaign Bound Together, and you can get that full thing on podcast. Just subscribe to our GAA stream wherever you get your podcast, be that on offtheball.com/podcast, which is probably the best place and the handiest place for you to do that one.